Hey friends, Donovan here with Trumpet Thoughts. Nice, cold, icy day, so I thought I would make some more content for you here. Appreciate everybody who's been watching the videos and commenting. It's been really fun and very interesting, so I really appreciate everyone doing that. I discovered something for myself that was really important a little while back when I was really getting into all the Reinhardt stuff. And sometimes when we make our discoveries, we can they can get lost in new discoveries. And then we rediscover them later down the road, and it's like, oh gosh, yes, that's so important for me. And this is about making the top lip the set point. Now, I'm just gonna say this. For me, when things aren't going well for me playing wise, I really have felt like for the last many years, ever since I kind of got my air worked out, that when I had playing problems, it was an embouchure issue. And I specifically felt like my embouchure just didn't have like that focus. It didn't have the focal point where things responded easily and efficiently. And so it could respond with a little air, it could respond with a lot of air. It just wasn't reliable. And often it felt like it had something to do with like my bottom lip being kind of like crushed in or tucked in, or some kind of, oh, there we go. You can kind of see that better behind my black hoodie. But something with that bottom lip just not being set right. And I've done a video on this before, but I'm just kind of coming back to it again because, again, for me, this has been really helpful. And I think a lot of us, when we set up our instrument to play, you know, well, if this is our embouchure and our lips here, and this, of course, is the mouthpiece, we just kind of like set it that way. And if you're someone like me who has a problem where that bottom lip tends to lose its focal point, then when you set up this way, it's real easy for that to kind of get like pushed in, and like then you sort of lose. You can see how like, oh sorry, I need to be able to see what I'm doing here. Those things are not really, they're not like that anymore, where you could really see like an airstream just flying. It gets kind of tucked, like something sort of goes wrong there. And if this happens to you and you play beautifully, then don't worry about it. You're probably not watching this video in the first place. But if you're like me, where you feel like, ugh, when I get that way, things don't feel right, things don't work right, I always struggle with how to get that, how to adjust it. Well, I'd come across this some time ago, that if I set up, instead of setting up like from the bottom up or setting up this way, setting up more this way and then bringing it down to the point where it then meets my bottom lip, I get more of like the lips they get a little unfurled, which gives me a thicker, fuller sound. And as Clint McLaughlin talks about, I feel like that aperture tunnel gets thicker, which gives you like more meat to the sound. I'll see if I can kind of get this close. So if we think like we kind of want our lips to sort of be like this, so that when air passes through, they can kind of open, and they're being contained by the mouthpiece, but air can pass through, and then they're going to just vibrate in response to air passing through, and that's going to create our buzz. We don't really think about buzzing the lips, we just think about the air passing through, and then the resistance of the mouthpiece with the horn creates the buzz. Does that make sense? So if we think about that, then what I find is that when I come from here up, it kind of ends up like pushing that bottom lip up, where it ends up sort of closing like that. Whereas if I come from here down, it sort of like rests. Sorry, this is hard to look at this and the camera. Here down, it rests on that bottom lip, so it's got support like that. Reinhardt might call these the legs of the embouchure. And I just have way more efficiency and effectiveness and accuracy this way. So here's what it looks like on the trumpet. So again, if this is someone that you feel like is you, maybe try this and see if it helps you. If it doesn't help you, discard it and don't do anything with it. So instead of setting up the way that we normally would, like that, I think that's how most people do it. Sometimes I've seen people even do this, but mostly like high school kids that you see do that sometimes. But this is the exact opposite. Starting way up here. And I'm kind of setting it right above like on my set point on my lip, and then bringing it down. And it even feels different. It feels like my lips are more like that in a good way than this way when I do that. By the way, if you're a callot person, or if you're a person who likes to do double pedals, this is a very similar horn angle to when you start the double pedals. which that just gave me a thought. That could be another video. Anyway, it's kind of that same angle, but then bringing down until it kind of has its firm, the right support, like what Reinhardt calls the legs. And then from there, can play like normal. Now, what I found for me is that this was a key set point for me, regardless of whether I was using tongue level or TCE. But the reason why I think it's so interesting now is with doing TCE, obviously tongue-controlled embouchure with my tongue going through my teeth, it's kind of changed some of my embouchure stuff, and I've gotten away from setting up this way, which has been the way that I've been setting up for probably the last couple of years. And over the last, well, really since like December, so that's about a month and a half ago from when I'm recording this video, my playing hadn't gotten bad. It just hasn't been as good as it was before. And I've been trying to figure out, like, well, what's going wrong here? Like, what am I doing wrong? And then the other night, I'm just like sitting here kind of thinking about it, and I was working with this thing, which I will do a video on, and it just got me thinking about, I think it's the bottom lip is losing its focal point. What if I try setting from the top lip? And literally watching TV with the practice mute in, reminding myself of setting from the top lip, all of my issues were fixed immediately, which is so frustrating sometimes. On the one hand, you're so happy that, you know, this thing that's been plaguing you for however long, you finally got it solved, and with something so easy. But on the other hand, the fact that it's been plaguing you for so long, and it took you that long to solve it, can sometimes be frustrating. But the right attitude to have is just to be grateful and thankful that you finally remembered it. So that's my set point. That's what I find gives me the best way to play. Setting up that way with the extreme angle on the top lip and coming down gives me the focal point I need to play efficiently and accurately with my embouchure. How about you? Does that work for you, or does something else work? Tell me.